Okay, so through the magic of television, it's 4 days later and everything is dry and ready to assemble. So you want to cook your favorite cake. I did just a boxed Betty Crocker. That's the best way to go. It's delicious and nobody knows you didn't home make it. And I used buttercream. I did a crumb coat of buttercream and I have all my pieces ready to go. So before I assemble the cake, you need to toast your coconut. That acts as or looks like the packaging for the wine. So I just used a sweetened shredded coconut. On the back of the package, it tells you how to toast it, and this is what it's gonna look like after it's toasted. You do wanna make sure this is nice and cool before you put it on the cake. So I usually do that before I assemble the cake. Okay, so we have our wine bottle. You wanna be very careful when you take it off. A lot of times I make 2 of them because if you crack one, you're just gonna be so sad. So it's best to have 2, and if you don't have to use the second one, even better. So what you wanna do is you should have a lot of powdered sugar under there and it's already nice and loose, and you just kind of loosen the top first and you start working your way, and you just literally lift it off the bottle. And it should be nice and hard. So it's not gonna bend, but be careful with it. So we're just gonna set that to the side right there, and your label's nice and good too. So what we're gonna do is put a little layer of buttercream after your crumb coat, and that acts as the glue that will hold the panels up. We're gonna get the sides real good because you need a lot of fresh buttercream or whatever frosting you like to use to hold the sides up. Okay, so we're gonna assemble the panels. We've got some nice good buttercream going there. We're gonna take the first panel and just push it against the cake so you get a lot of good buttercream on there. So you just kind of match up the corners. Don't worry about the corners. I'm gonna show you a little trick that we can hide any imperfections. I always look at see what side I like better. So we're gonna do this side. I think this is a pretty side. Want to make sure you don't get your cheese or your grapes too close. And then push that in. There we go. So now you've got your box. So I like to take a little bit of buttercream, don't need much, and just kind of almost go along the edges. You can almost use the buttercream that's on the cake too, and it just kind of helps seal the box in a little bit. So you can see that the ends don't really stay real good and line up. So what I like to do is I take a little bit of my black fondant and I roll pieces and I just kind of line them right up the sides. So I'll show you how to do that. So you're gonna use a little bit of water and you just paint, actually I'll do it in front here so you can see. So you're just gonna paint a little bit of the fondant. That helps to get the strip to stick. So we're gonna stick that, kind of close the gap and then wrap that around, and that acts like a little corner. And then you're just gonna push it down. We now have the dried vines on the skewers, and again, you just wanna kind of, a lot of times they slide off, but kind of twist the skewer when you take it off. And just like everything, they can be kind of fragile, so you want to be a little bit careful. So I have a couple vines and I've got my leaf. So we'll do a little bit of water. And you kind of put your vines however you want. I like them sticking out because it kind of makes the cake look a little more 3D. And then the leaf, you just want to put wherever seems good. A lot of times I'll put a little bit of frosting on that, and that acts like a glue too. So now we're going to move on to the bottle. Before we put the bottle on, we're going to make a little foil covering, and I'm going to use black fondant for that. You can do that the day before if you take the bottle off. It's probably the easiest. or you can do it that day. But if you take the bottle off the day before, you can do that just the night before. It doesn't have to harden completely. So we're gonna take some black fondant and get our powdered sugar. And I'm gonna cut it across. And you just kind of lay it over just like you did on the wine bottle. And cut right down the middle here. Cut a little bit off the top here. Now, you're gonna take a little bit of your water and put it underneath. And that's how it's gonna stick on for you. Again, you could do this the day before if you take the bottle off the wine. Voila. Now what I like to do is take my paintbrush and I do a little mark to make it kind of look like there's a cork in there. So now we're gonna place the wine bottle in the box. You want to try and get it right in the middle. There we go. And push down a little bit. Again, not too hard. You don't want to break the bottle. That way it looks like it's laying in there. So now we've got our wine bottle inside the cake. Next, we're going to write on the label. So you're going to need, I either use vodka or almond extract or any kind of extract. You need the alcohol to help dry the lettering so it doesn't bleed, because sometimes it'll bleed. And then again, we're going to use the gel food coloring. So we're gonna just put a little bit of the food coloring in, and again, the gel is a better way to go because it's a little bit thicker. So you just wanna put a few drops in. You want it on the thicker side than too runny. You can always add more. Okay, so we've got the perfect consistency, and I'm gonna start writing on it. So we're gonna take a little bit of purple fondant. And really what this is gonna do is just go around the label so that it kind of hides where it's lifted up, and again, hide all the little imperfections. So we're just gonna roll the fondant. And you wanna roll it pretty thin because you're just putting it all around the side of the label. Oh, perfect. Okay, so get your paintbrush with a little bit of water and just put a little bit of water underneath, and that'll act as the glue. So now you just kind of push it down so that it hides the label. Okay, 2 more steps and we're almost done. We're gonna put a little border on the bottom of the box because that way you don't see little gaps. Again, does not have to be perfect. We're gonna need some black fondant, or you can use, I had a little bit of extra with the brown in it, and that just kind of matches the box. So that one's perfect. Let me just show you here. So what we're gonna do is, again, take a little bit of water and just run a little bit of water along here and then push it right into the box. So we're gonna do that all the way around. Okay, last step, our toasted coconut. So it's all nice and cool, and basically you just throw it in there. You wanna get it real good in the corners because sometimes the corners kind of dip down a little bit if your cake isn't perfect, which mine usually aren't. And you just fill everything in. We want it to look like it's a glass, so I take a little bit of edible glitter and a little paintbrush, and you just kind of tap it. You can tap it along there and just kind of paint the bottle. That will also take off any of the little coconut that kind of fell on it. Make sure your writing is all dry before you do this though, because you don't want to mess the writing up. Kind of clean up your cake board a little bit. And you are all done. If you have any questions on building this cake, just leave them in the comments below, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much.